And this time I have a poem called The Tale of Custard the Dragon, which is actually a story. And you can call it a fairy tale if you like. But before we read this poem, let's talk about the poet Ogden Nash. Born in Rye, New York on 19th August 1902, Frederick Ogden Nash wrote over 400 pieces of comic verse. For a short time, he worked for Wall Street and then as a school teacher and then a copywriter. The best of his work was published in 14 volumes between 1931 and 1972. In the 1950s, Nash focused on writing poems for children. His poetry collections from that time include The Boy Who Laughed at Santa Claus and Girls Are Silly. He is best remembered for his nonsense poetry. The Tale of Custard the Dragon is considered Ogden Nash's most famous poem for children. A few years after it was published in 1936, as a part of his poetry collection, The Bad Parents, a picture book of the poem was published with illustrations. This poem is written in the style of a ballad. Now, a ballad is typically a poem that narrates a story and can be sung because of its rhyming pattern. You must be familiar with ballads that narrate tales of courage or heroism. This poem is a humorous ballad, somewhat close to a parody. Sounds interesting? Okay, then let's dive into the Tale of Custard the Dragon. The Tale of Custard the Dragon by Ogden Nash. Belinda lived in a little white house with a little black kitten and a little gray mouse, and a little yellow dog and a little red wagon, and a realio, truelio little pet dragon. Now the name of the little black kitten was Ink, and the little gray mouse, she called him Blink, and the little yellow dog was sharp as mustard, but the dragon was a coward and she called him Custard. Custard the dragon had big sharp teeth and spikes on top of him and scales underneath, mouth like a fireplace, chimney for a nose, and realio, truelio daggers on his toes. Belinda was as brave as a barrel full of bears, and Ink and Blink chased lions down the stairs. Mustard was as brave as a tiger in a rage, but Custard cried for a nice, safe cage. Belinda tickled him. She tickled him unmerciful. Ink, Blink and Mustard, they rudely called him Percival. They all sat laughing in the little red wagon at the realio, truelio cowardly dragon. Moving on, we shall read the stanzas individually to understand the poem in detail. So in the first stanza, we are introduced to Belinda. She lives with her pets in a white house. She has a black kitten, a grey mouse, a yellow dog, and a dragon. They also have a red wagon, which they use when they have to go around. In the second stanza, we get to know the names of the pets. Belinda's kitten is black in color and hence she named it Ink. The mouse, being tiny, she named it as Blink. And the dog was probably very sharp and alert, so Belinda named the dog Mustard. And finally, the dragon was cowardly, and so she chose the name Custard for him. Belinda seems to have a liking towards animals. So in the third stanza, the poet goes on to describe Belinda's dragon. And as we read, Custard was a full-grown dragon. Most certainly, he could easily defend himself against any danger with his sharp teeth, spikes on his back, scales beneath his belly, and dagger-like toes. And being a dragon, he could also breathe fire. Sounds scary, huh? But in the fourth stanza, we realize that the dragon is not what it looks like. Here the poet tells us that Belinda and all her pets were brave, all but Custard the dragon. Belinda herself was as brave as many bears put together. The kitten, Ink, and the mouse, Blink, were brave enough to chase lions, and Mustard the dog was as brave as a ferocious tiger. But Custard was so cowardly that he preferred to be caged so that he would remain safe. Do you notice the humor in these lines? As we read, Belinda and the other pets made fun of Custard for being so afraid all the time. Belinda tickled him, and Ink, Blink and Mustard ironically compared him to Percival. Now Percival was a brave knight in the service of King Arthur. Here the comparison is done to show how unlike Percival he really was. So before we go on to the next stanzas, we shall take a break here, and I will be back soon in the next video. Until then, take care. Bye. TutorMate. For more amazing video lectures, download the free app on the Apple App Store or Google Play Store.